Anyway,
this is a national security
I said this
matter.
way, just I wanted us to take a look
worried.
at the Vincent Kwasifwa video. So now let's move on to the Electoral Commission issues. It's not a main discussion. Oh wow. No, well, you seem very much poised. Now let's get on to also a substantive
I'll be happy
issue.
if I just get
so a substantive issue that we need to take a look at is the Electoral Commission, and foremostly, it's a clarification on disposable of obsolete biometric verification devices that we know as BVDs. So as stakeholders within the political space, the political parties and the other stakeholders said they were not informed. If you want to do the disposal, you have to, at least by way of information, keep them in the know. The other aspect of the conversation also is about if an agent doesn't sign a form, of course, it doesn't invalidate an electoral commission declared results. But then, what would be a reason why an agent of a political party or of any other body at all would not sign a sheet for the election to be declared, so to speak, if you look at the sheet at the polling station? Now, well, let's tackle that quickly. You want to do some preface with...
Yes. I'll start
it has to be only 2 minutes.
With the inflation. I think this is unfair for you to say that when we got to 54, the whole world, it's only some few countries and so on. Every country in this world, he mentioned that it was only some few countries that were able to beat.
Reports indicating that
so
the CD was so bad that we're only second to Sri Lanka. We're second to Sri Lanka.
I'm talking about inflation now. I have not mentioned the CD. I am saying that by December 2022, almost every country in this world went through inflationary crisis. In UK, even as at February 2023, UK recorded 11%. They used to do 3%. They recorded 11%, worst in over 40 years. The US same. Again, on pensions. Default. My goodness. That's the reason that we're saying that Mahama is not a new person. That's why I am happy that Mahama is the person contesting right now. Between 2010 and 2016, the tier 2 that controller deducts were not paid for the first time in the history of this country. All public sector workers went into strike in October 2016. All because government was refusing to even transfer from 2010 for 7 years. So is this the first time that government is defaulting in payment to Senate?
So it's normal.
No, I'm saying that if really within a year or two,
it's normal.
I'm saying that if within a year or two, it means the scheme will collapse. You did 7 years without transferring the amount of money. The scheme didn't collapse.
Did you read the ILO report? Because you seem to be
I
isolating the conversations.
I read it, but I'm only giving the picture he's painting as if this default is the reason the scheme will collapse. I am saying that between 2010 and 2016, the NDC did not transfer the tier 2 to the extent that first time in the history of this country, all public sector workers went into strike in October 2016. So that is not it. Again, on the elections, I believe that the Electoral Commission, this is not the first time we're discussing this issue of the BVDs and BVRs and so on, because I remember in 2020 we went into these discussions because at that time when they said they were going to procure new machines and so on. I'm sure that's the question you're asking me. Yes. This is not the first time we're having this discussion because I remember Franklin Kujo and Bright Simmons had a lot of banter with the EC. I think the EC must be transparent enough so that at least every Ghanaian will have the confidence that indeed the EC will have a very credible elections. In procurement, if my memory serves me right, I know that they do not engage in any procurement without recourse to the political parties. I think if I still remember, it was Dr. Aini who represented the NDC on their tender board, and Okoboy represented MPP those days before 2020 or so. I have seen the questions from Imani. It is good that civil society organizations go into all these things, ask relevant questions. If they come with the answers and we think they are convincing, then we move with it. Or if they are not convincing, then as Ghanaians, we will have to scrutinize and ask a lot of questions about it.
I don't understand. You're saying Imani is lying.
Then you didn't listen to me, maybe because you are on your phone. I'm saying that I listened to Imani. I have read what Imani has really put out. And they have asked legitimate questions. And I believe that the EC will have to come with legitimate answers. If the answers are not satisfactory to us as Ghanaians and stakeholders, we should still probe for them to give us good answers to the questions Imani were raising. And
the questions relate to, and I'm on the page of Franklin Kujo.
Yes.
And Franklin Kujo says, 8 reasons confirming why the current Electoral Commission has become, look at the words Imani is using, pathologically misgoverned. And they go on to do a brief.
Yes. Yes.
Now, from what Imani is saying, it purely indicates that the Electoral Commission is jeopardizing the trust that is needed prior to the 2024 general election. And that's very dangerous for this election.
I am telling you that this discussion didn't start just yesterday. It started in 2020, before 2020. You remember when they took over, they talked about the obsolete machines that were procured in 2012. They said the machines were had reached end of life. I remember we had all these discussions. They said the machines, there are some amounts of money that has been approved by the previous Electoral Commission, those heading the Electoral Commission, around 56 million, to service these machines for 2018 and 2019 registration and 2018 district level elections. They believe that they will not really do the refurbishment because the machine had reached end of life, and when you even service it, you may still have to go into procurement. So they have to change the money, use the machines like that, the obsolete machines. After that, then they created the data center, 2 data centers, and they bought new machines at a cost that is even lower than the amount of money that was approved for the EC to be able to really do refurbishment of these machines. So I believe that these are issues that we will have to delve into, check whether indeed they are telling us the truth. What fascinates me more is the machines were procured from 2 companies, the STL and the HSB, the verification machines, both machines. The EC consistently from 2019 had been mentioning that they had received letters from these companies for the companies to tell them that these are machines that are at end of life and they will have to change them. These are reputable companies, and as I speak, from 2019 up to today, companies had not come out to say that the EC was lying. The companies, STL and the other company, had not come out to say that. Indeed, they did not say that these are obsolete machines. These are machines that had reached end of life, that they needed to be changed. The EC, I should believe the EC because these are companies.
This is what Imani says, Awal Mohammed.
Yes.
The Electoral Commission has consistently lied about the obsolescence of the biometric infrastructure that they came to meet and which they spent precious money to augment. And I'm reading this because you claim that there's been no dispute prior.
I didn't claim that there's no dispute. When you read the EC's even
or you
response,
are just quoting the Electoral Commission.
When you read the EC's response, this is something that came in 2018 or so, that we had
You've
in
made
the
that
discussion.
point,
you understand? I'm saying that they have consistently said that the machines, they, according to the EC, they have gotten approval of 56 million to refurbish these obsolete machines. When they came in, they felt that these are obsolete machines that they do not need to refurbish again. They can use it for the district level elections. After that, they procure new ones with the same amount of money at even a reduced cost.
That's what the EC says.
Yes, to conduct the elections. And I'm saying that they mentioned the two companies that they mentioned three things. One is that there was an approval of 56 million for them to refurbish it for only the district level elections and registration. Two is that they mentioned that they bought it from a company, and the two companies have not come out to say that indeed their machines that they supply to Ghana were at end of life and they were really obsolete, that we cannot use them. So I tend to trust the EC. The only issue here is that if these are obsolete machines, how did you use the obsolete machines to conduct the 2019 elections? These are legitimate questions that Franklin Kujo is asking, that the EC will have to come back to explain to us, because when I read their response.
At one point in time, you support the EC clearly in its explanations, and at the same time, you supported
I'm saying that they have mentioned that there are three documents. They mentioned three documents, and I'm saying that the three documents are not in dispute. One is that they have been given an approval of 56 million to refurbish the machines.
Right.
Two is that they have mentioned the two companies, that they have received letters from the two companies who have continuously claim that the machines they supply to Ghana are at end of life and they will not be refurbished. The next leg is that I'm saying that they use the same machines, that are obsolete. They were able to use it for the district level elections in 2019. These are issues that they have to come out to explain to us. Again, they also did not mention the numbers that they have really sold for them to really discard them. These are questions that Imani had asked, and I believe that the EC will have to come out clearly to tell us.
The concern in civil society, especially those in governance and looking at transparency, etc., is that the attitude and posture of the Electoral Commission jeopardizes the atmosphere prior to the 2024 general elections. What do you say to that, in relation to some of these important matters that have now come out clearly in the public domain?
I think that to really look at it, just 30 seconds to correct some misinformation. The NDC administration under John Mahama never failed to transfer workers' contribution. The ILO is talking about the health of the SNIT now. What happened was that we had passed a new Pension Act. And under the Act, it created what is now known as the Tier 2, Tier 3, and Tier 1. Now, Workers' Union wanted their own fund managers to manage their funds. And government of Ghana at that time said, listen, these are fund managers that you are proposing. We need to be sure of their credibility before we can give government workers money to them.
Okay.
Because if it messes up, these workers will not come and say, our union leaders, sometime by the time the problem comes, the union leader who took that decision will not be there. So government of Ghana was interested. And so that is what brought the stalemate. It was not because of lack of funds. In this specific case, we are talking about a situation where government is broke, government is bankrupt, that the International Labour Organization is concerned that we are depleting the numbers instead of adding more. I think they should bring this matter into a proper perspective.
When Lehman Brothers collapsed in the US, it was that government that took charge of the workers' money.
Stay calm. I've been very calm when you were talking. You see, now with that said,
that's the reason.
We'll go to the Electoral Commission.
You promise not to interject and heckle people.
You see, we in the NDC have always maintained that the current managers of the Electoral Commission do not see themselves accountable to the 1992 Constitution.
What do you mean by that?
But see themselves accountable to the regime that appointed them. Look, like Imani pointed out, in 2020, Akufo-Addo at all costs wanted a new voters register. Against sound reason, he still wanted a new voters register. Because remember, in opposition, They bastardized the register to the extent that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia even did a press conference and said he had found the name of 75,000 Togolese.
I remember that.
The expectation is that now that he's vice president, at least evidence of those 75,000 Togolese would have been provided. But that's another point. So at that time, they wanted a new register at all costs. Had to get rid of Madame Charlotte Osei and the other commissioners to get commissioners who would do what they want to do. Remember that the Constitution provides a functional independence for the Electoral Commission. But the current commissioners do not see their independence emanating from the Constitution.
How do you draw that
or
conclusion?
their security of tenure. You see, the accounts have a saying that, executioners, they don't like to sleep supinely. Do you know why? For fear that what he does to others, same will be,
that they will suffer the same fate.
They will suffer the same fate. Knowing how they came into office, the removal of Charlotte Osei and others to bring them in, they do not see their security of tenure being provided for by the Constitution. But Akufo-Addo and the NPP continuing in power. And so, they have been dabbling in a lot of engineering, anything that would advance the interests of the NPP. That's basically what they have been doing for this while. You recall how Mr. Akufo-Addo had to appoint a known NPP propagandist, a known NPP, activist. I'm talking about Dr. Apiahene, who for all intent and purpose was the NPP regional rep at the Regional Coalition Center in the 2020 election. Today, Mr. Akufo-Addo had brought such a person to be a commissioner. So look at the scenario where Aston Villa and Chelsea are playing. Chelsea scores a goal, and then the referee disallows and said, no, he's going to check the VAR. The technician behind the VAR are MPP or Aston Villa, non-supported. That's the kind of scenario. In the superior wisdom of the framers of the Constitution, the persons manning the Electoral Commission are supposed to be persons of a certain level of neutrality. So if you bring somebody like Apiahene, an IT specialist, a person whose PhD is in computer science, and remember that our elections had a lot to do with computing, IT deployment and others, to be a commissioner, a non-MPP person, clearly, it tells you that this is a president who is willing to undermine that functional independence, operational independence of the Electoral Commission. You see, in 2020, we had made a point that new BVDs were refurbished by 2018 because Madame Jane Mensah had just come in, and the others, they had gone before the budget, a special budget committee of Parliament, and gotten Parliament to give them enough money. It was on the basis of that the limited registration exercise was done with those machines. Yes. If those machines were obsolete, on what basis were you able to use them for the purposes of that limited registration exercise? It didn't end there. The same obsolete machines that you talk about was good enough for you to use it for the 2019 district level election. The same obsolete. So the NDC maintained at that time that they claimed that those equipment were obsolete, had no basis in fact or whatsoever. But, like I pointed out, Akufo-Addo as at 2020 wanted a new register at all costs. So what did they do? They had to go to the French company called Thales to go and buy the new kits at a cost of $74 million. If you recall, for the first time, our international donors who used to give us money for the elections said, look, we don't understand why all these equipments being there, you want to destroy them and go and procure new material. So for the first time, you notice that government of Ghana fully funded the 2020 registration and election itself. The donors said they didn't want to have anything to do with that. That is
No
a
donor
record.
said that.
That is the
Which
reason
record?
why.
Which donor?
Oh, please.
Which record?
Look, the donor support in all our elections from 1992 is a matter of public record.
Exactly. But in 2020, where did we go that they told us this?
Please.
Stop lying.
The donors were clear.
Which donors?
That these equipments were in good. Look,
wow.
do you know our support?
Wow, please,
Which
if you have any,
donors?
please,
You see, you
please,
can't just
no,
see vacuum. You're not doing
please, if you have
propaganda,
any
you're a lawyer.
response, please write it. Please write
The
it.
Electoral Commission had always. No, hold
please
on.
let's have a very civil discussion. Please write
The
it.
Electoral
Okay.
Commission
I've
of
written a lot
Ghana
of things, if
has
you give me
always
time.
relied on UNDP support. That's a matter of public record. In 2020, UNDP and all those allied institutions said, look, we do not see the basis for the compilation
When
of
did they
this
say
new.
that?
So for the first time,
Please make your
Ghana
point on
had
your
to
notes
cough
so that when you are
totally
trying to
this
rebut, you
amount of
rebut.
money.
Please.
And I recall in 2020, among the issues the NDC raised was the fact that there was no need of discarding the old register and the equipment. But government said, look, we'll fund you Electoral Commission. We need a new voters register and what have you. And therefore went in for this. Today, after 2020, Imani is saying that this equipment that you claim, quote unquote, were obsolete, faulty, not fit for purpose. We have found some of them in private places. And that our concern is that these are machines containing the data of Ghanaians. Remember that your biometric information had been captured by the Electoral Commission. The laws of this country, data protection, requires that your data be protected. Now you have a situation where the Electoral Commission had decided, quote unquote, auctioned these machines to a private entity. In Ghana, we have what we call the Public Auction Act. It's a PNDC law. It provides that unless otherwise decided, all auctions must be done public. Where did the Electoral Commission do that public auction of those election machines? No such thing had happened. So under what circumstance? No, the laws of this country require that if you want to do a public auction, you publish in any newspaper or whatsoever. When did that thing happen? It never did. It's a matter of public record. And so, Imani, being a civil society group, are concerned that under what circumstance did the Electoral Commission proceed to act in the manner in which they did. Look, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo decided to remove Madam Charlotte Osei on the breaches of on grounds that the procurement laws were breached. And I recall vividly, Mr. Kweku Baako also had then issued a writ at the Supreme Court challenging that. I think you are represented by Samson Ladi at the Supreme Court, where his lawyer stated that the procurement breaches or something could not be grounds for stated misbehavior. The Supreme Court, that day, the proceeding of that day, asked his lawyer, are you saying a breach of law is not a misbehavior? And that was it. So my point is this. If Madame Charlotte Osei can be removed for breaches of the Procurement Act, what it means is that this commissioner can also be removed on the basis that they undertook an auction of those equipment without recourse to what is required by law. And that, for me, is quite revealing. What we should not lose sight of is the fact that the Electoral Commission now has decided to be the laws on its own. They do what pleases them. We have been at this conversation, and I recall vividly September last year.
But if you make recourse to the Constitution, if you look at the functions of the Electoral Commission, you're supposed to be independent. So
independent from what? Not from the Constitution or the laws of this country.
Well, that's true.
Good. So the point I am making is that where the Electoral Commission goes to Parliament, passes a CI, the CI says that before you create a polling registration center, recourse must be given to suitability, accessibility, and others. And the Electoral Commission decide on its own that I want to do the registration in the district offices without regards to the pain and sufferings of Ghanaians. It clearly shows an electoral commission that is not interested, as it were, in complying with the laws of this country.
If you look at all the matters that are coming up, indeed have come up following all the discussion we've had, whether it's the appointment of individuals into the commission, etc., and then even all these matters that don't seem to be dealt with adequately on the part of civil society by the Electoral Commission, on a scale of 0 to 10, what will be your transfer for the EC currently?
You see, again, like Imani said,
it's a very simple
Imani says Electoral Commission today is running one day, one lie as a policy, and that some of the things that they put out are fanciful, lies among other things, half-truths, misinformation, and others. You see, what an Electoral Commission needs going into an election is credibility. Can you trust someone who had lied once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, whose policy is one day, one lie? So our concern, legitimately, is that we want a situation where, we want a situation where we will have an Electoral Commission that is willing to put integrity, credibility above all other things. Look, there are key stakeholders in the election process. You need to carry them along. And that is why, for me, the concerns raised by Imani, this one is not NDC. That you say, be it NDC, they are up to ABCD. No, this is no other person but Imani Ghana. Imani Ghana in the past were critical of NDC. They have been critical of this government. So at least you can appreciate that where they have to criticize, they do. Where they have to praise, they do.
Our says they've been lying.
No. I mean, on this issue, maybe I'm not sure that's... So my point is that I think we need to observe how the proceeding. And let me make this point once again. The same obsolete equipment. When Mr. Akufo-Addo wanted to create the new regimes, we had to do a referendum. You remember?
Yes, in 2018.
It was the same machines that were used for the purposes of the referendum. Where from this issue of obsoleteness, it was just a ruse created in order to procure the new equipment. And the record today will show that it has not been anything different, really.
Yes, so I mentioned it. I also raised...
Trust for the Electoral Commission. While you say that, let's deal with how a build-up of some of these teething issues is eroding trust for the Electoral Commission just in the run-up to the 2024 general election. As you know, and indeed we've all confirmed here that the campaign is up. Even we have the vice president, who is the presidential candidate of the NPP, all doing that. And the election is just about 5-6 months away.
These are procurement issues which has nothing to do with the voting on that day. These are procurement issues.
You don't think this erodes the trust of the Electoral Commission?
These are things that started in 2018, 2019, that we discussed it prior to 2020. It didn't change anything in the elections. Again, I mentioned it, that when they even said that these are obsolete machines, they used it for 2018, 2019. They should come out clear. If you did listen to me when I was ending my submission, I mentioned it that they should come out clear to tell the people of this country how they were able to use the obsolete machines without necessarily using the 56 million to refurbish it. That's very important. Again, when the NDC, there is a saying that I always say in P that focus on your campaign, because the NPP do not need any machination from the Electoral Commission to win any elections in this country. In 2016, we were antagonizing the Electoral Commission. But we won with the highest margin because we have focused on our campaign. Dr. Piahene cannot change anything there. There are 7 members. Apart from the 7 members, they have regional directors. They have district directors. The Electoral Commission is not working with only the 7 people.
Mr. Wow, how do you say?
I am saying that the Electoral Commission
how do you say
is
that
not 7 people.
An independent body that is supposed to be the ombudsman or the referee in an election, for which its actions will be determining the outcome of that election, having inherently appointed members who are clearly aligned
So
have
David Kanga
espoused their position
Okay.
for a political party that is in government, that is one of the two main political parties when it comes to the records of the Fourth Republic in Ghana,
Roland,
will not lead to erosion of trust. How can you say that? Awal Mohammed.
Roland, David Kanga served as a PNDC secretary. He continued as EC official. What happened? Did he compromise his position? No. David Kanga, he served. He's one of the longest serving deputy chairpersons of the EC. Again, the officers there, Dr. Sirwo Kweku rose through the ranks to become director of electoral services. You think he will just sit down for someone to control him? The Electoral Commission is not 7 people. They have officers from the district up to the national level. Again, they don't do anything in secrecy. That's why I even told you, when they were even procuring the machines, we had political party reps. Dr. Ayine was representing NDC, and Dr. Kubo was representing MPP. If there are teething issues that need to be ironed, they must come out clear to explain to us as stakeholders. It's very important. That's why I said that questions by Imani Ghana are legitimate questions. They must come out clear to tell us the number of machines that they have been auctioned. When they auctioned them, the amount of money they got from the auction, because they said they got some amounts of money and they paid the amount of money into the consolidated account. They should provide all these further and better particulars so that it will be able to. I will reiterate the point that the NPP do not need the machination of any electoral commission in this country to win any elections, because in 2016, if really electoral commission will support someone, because you remember when Martin Amidu came to say he is a foundation member of the NDC in 2016, this is someone who came to say that Charlotte Osei was appointed to rig the 2016 elections. We focus on our campaign and vigilance, and we're able to win with close to 1 million gap. So we do not need the Electoral Commission to win any elections in this country.
So you're saying it's good precedence, no matter aligned individuals are appointed.
Why do you want to put words into my mouth?
I'm not putting words. I'm asking you a question. Wow, how does that become me putting words into your mouth?
If Apia Hine is not qualified, I should be seeing the NDC going to court to challenge Apia Hine. If he's not qualified, to be there, I will want to see them beyond the lip service. I will want to see them go to court to challenge him. To challenge that this person is not qualified to be where he is. Only when you mentioned that people who are known people who are aligned.
If I mention.
Yes, you said it. People who are aligned. You asked me a question. That people who are aligned to a political party.
That's why it's a question. So
yes,
I
you
don't
said
know how that becomes
in your question. You said people who were aligned to a political party may compromise their position. And I mentioned that we had David Kanga, who was PNDC, who was working with PNDC. He moved. You remember how even Afarijan was appointed? When you read Working with Rawlings, you will know how he was even appointed. Because Ahoy said he was looking for someone to be Electoral Commission chairperson. He went and met him somewhere at a drinking spot. And from there, he recommended him.
Which page was that?
It's in there.
I'm
saying it's in there.
Okay, so no, I have this one from Yusuf. Please. I have this one from Yusuf Zomra, who says, Mr. Roland, tell Awal that I said he should be decent because when you said that he shouldn't be distractive, you see what he's doing. He's showing the evidence. Gani. What does Gani mean?
I didn't describe.
What does Gani mean?
I don't know. It's a corrupted Hausa word because it's not.
Okay, so it's used.
Really
it's
a right Hausa word.
Okay.
But we use it in this country when you say Gani, like you've seen it, okay. But it's a corrupted Hausa word. It's not.
No, I think
Caesar.
Yeah.
Don't worry. You wrap up for me. Yeah. David Kanga was headmaster of Navrongo Secondary School.
He was never a PNDC secretary.
So
he
please,
worked in PNDC.
Wow.
I'm saying that he worked in PNDC.
Excuse me.
Stop that.
let Awal tell us where Kanga was serving as PNDC secretary.
In fact, he now pulled out. He's pulled out from that claim. He says working in PNDC office. I mean,
he worked. I said he worked with the PNDC.
It's a serious problem.
I mentioned that David Kanga worked with the PNDC.
He was not a PNDC secretary. That was
no. I'm saying that he worked with the
PNDC. Yes, that's
Mr. Prosper Apasu says, if we have elections to be organized in 6 months, and the players are not playing fair, doesn't it erode the confidence that ordinary voters and Ghanaians will have? I think there's a legitimate question. I've asked this question, but... And then also, Alex Boedi. Alex Boedi says, I was the acting national president of NAT 2016. Please tell Awal to stop peddling lies about the transfer of funds to SNIT, which did not happen from 2010 to 20. Are you going to allow me to? All transfers were made. The issue we then had was the transfer of deductions to the credible fund managers, and that's Mr. Alex Boedi clarifying. I think it syncs with what Edwige says. Now, I have this one from Blueprint. Blueprint is Isikado Kita and says, good morning to Mr. Charles Bisu, incoming MP for Isikado. Blueprint, good morning to you. It's been a while, brother. Awal is being truthful, and Edwige Tamaklo must be economical with the truth. Just one bit.
Which one of the issues?
Okay. And then also I have Hamza. Alhaji Hamza says, he says I should read. He's watching keenly. Okay. Truth be told, anytime I listen to communicators of the MPP, including Awal, I feel sad and my heart bleeds for this nation. They should stop insulting our intelligence and credit us with the little respect we deserve in this country. Madam Jimensa and the EC should be called to order. They should be held responsible if anything goes wrong in the current election. Why? Why is the Peace Council and the Christian fraternity as well as the others who were making noise in 2016? And so conclude on this for me, because a matter that we also chanced on was the Electoral Commission saying agents' refusal to sign election result do not invalidate election results. Before
I proceed, on City FM online, this is a story.
What are you reading? Let me see.
City FM online. There's a story. Lack of donor support for elections shouldn't be a problem. Jane Mensah, May 29, 2019.
Right.
This is the Electoral Commission chairperson saying that if donor support is not coming, it is not an issue. So it couldn't be the case. You see.
No, but you haven't answered that because you mentioned that donors said that they will not support us because the register was credible. You mentioned that, so it didn't really. No, but I will have to also do this. I'll have to correct the misinformation.
Are you okay?
You see,
are you okay now?
The question of Dr. Piahi speaks of a known MPP apologist, an officer of the MPP, a man who in 2020 represented the MPP in the Regional Coalition Center from 360 degrees. Now he's the referee in the match. And we say it shouldn't be a problem. In Professor Kwame Nahoe's book, nowhere was it referenced that Dr. Kwadwo Afarijan was an NDC member. In fact, he was a lecturer at the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana. 2, David Kanga was never a PNDC operative. At best, what he's known for, of being the headmaster of Navasco and the rest. That is the work he did for Ghana. No. So you cannot, in an attempt, as it were, to find excuse for Akufo-Addo's deliberate weaponization of the Electoral Commission with these fanciful claims. It is not correct. What is also, it's important that I put this matter in proper perspective, which has to do with the private persons. How did it come about? The Electoral Commission might be speaking to the good people of this country. Under what circumstance did the private data of people, get to private individuals what is the level of assurance or certification before those equipment got there. Now, you've raised this issue about what Samuel Tete says, an agent's refusal to sign result does not invalidate. The requirement of the law, which are to the CR 127, is that an agent has the power to refuse to sign. And in doing so, the agent must assign reasons. So, for instance, the agent there says, I have noticed that the ballots were stuffed. On that basis, I will not sign, because the Supreme Court in the 2020 election petition said that, unlike what was said in the past, that polling agents were glorified observers. You remember, you and I were not there conversation. The Supreme Court in 2020 said the work of the agent is critical to the principal, that is the presidential candidate. And on that basis, the Supreme Court once again affirmed the critical role of polling agents in our election. But the law requires that where an agent has a reason not to sign, there's a column. If you look at what we call the pink sheet, there's a column that he must assign reason for the refusal to sign. That is what the law requires. And look, if you look, and he makes the point, NPP doesn't need the Electoral Commission, blah, blah, blah. We saw what happened in 2020.
Meaning what?
Where the Electoral Commission chairperson, for almost 4 times, had to be amending the election results. What about that? We saw what happened in Techiman South. We saw how almost 7 Ghanaians, the martyrs of democracy, were murdered by state agents to allow MPP to get the Techiman South seat. This has never happened. And you see, like H.E. John Dramani Mahama said in Damango yesterday, look, we must all admit one thing. We want free and fair election. And Mr. Akufo-Addo must know that what happened in 2020, where innocent Ghanaians were gunned down, brutally murdered, that extrajudicial killing of those innocent Ghanaians to get him a second term, it won't happen again. Look, the NDC reported this matter to Ghana police as we speak.
Which matter?
The killing of those innocent people.
There's even a petition that was sent to Shraj by
the innocent Ghanaian that, and remember that post-1992, this is the election that 6 people had to be killed. It had never happened. And also know that this is the only election that Akufo-Addo supervised. In 2016, it was John Mahama who supervised it as a sitting president. He allowed things to run. Nobody was killed.
So I asked,
and that is why we should all appreciate.
I asked the question on the stream. What is your level of trust for the Electoral Commission on a scale of 1 to 10? Catherine Michelle says 1. Mohammed Abdul, I think, I'm sure it's your friend.
No.
Okay. Says -9. -10 by Shadrach Kwaku. Neo Datemil says 2. Gapsi says 2. Ibrahim Al-Hassan says -1. And Nelson Yesuto says, I don't have any trust in this EC. We'll handle the election our own way. Well, so we have a couple who say 0-0, 1%, Adams, Wedday, and a couple more. Now, while we wrap up, there have been videos of the president. I'm asking this question because you're coming from the corridors of power. The president went to KJB. Was beckoning the chief to get up to greet. He's been criticized on social media. And then also there's been concern about the Yagbonwura yesterday or over the weekend also. I don't know whether there's an official response from... What do you make of
this? This is the second
topic
that you are introducing outside what you sent to us to discuss.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's okay.
But before that, let me just...
Don't talk about it.
So National Commission on Democracy was formed in 1984. David Kanga was appointed by Rawlings to work at as a deputy chair for National Commission on Democracy. Which public institution? who gave them the mandate. He came through a coup d'etat. Someone who came through a coup d'etat, established PNDC, established institutions, and appointed his cronies to be in that institution. And you are telling me who gave them that mandate? Who approved that National Commission on Democracy? You're a lawyer, you should understand this.
The National Commission for Democracy is what to do.
I'm saying that you said he didn't work in. You mentioned here that the man didn't work with PNDC. And I'm telling you that he worked in PNDC because Rawlings appointed him in 1984 as deputy chair for National Commission on Democracy.
National Commission.
Are you
a state agency?
Which institution gave them the mandate? The coup. Someone.
Are you saying that?
If you were appointed as governor of Bank of Ghana during the PNDC agent?
I said he worked with PNDC.
Elevate the
He worked with PNDC, and it was Rawlings who appointed him to work.
So Kufuor, who worked with the PNDC, is what?
According to Ahoy, he was.
Look at this.
According to Ahoy, when you read Ahoy's book, it was.
I want to ask you a question.
Where was given that position
where in 1981?
This is what Ahoy said. Kufuor did not accept appointment. Kufuor was in jail, and they went to Kufuor and told him that become the local government secretary, so that you can be taken out of jail. And that was how Kufuor came out of jail. So it is in working with Rawlings by Ahoy.
Right. So
that is the reason Kufuor came. 3 months resigned.
We had a transitional process. Is that not true? Constituent Assembly subsequently.
It didn't start from there.
No.
He worked with the PNDC for about 9 years.
I'm only making a point. So my question then is, once we were doing the transition into a democratic era,
yes,
for which we've had how many years prior? About 11 years prior of military.
Yes, we did 11 years.
So officials who
no accountability, just nothing, just one person.
So officials who were going to form new institutions in a democratic dispensation, as from 1992, where should they be coming from?
I didn't mention. I said David Kanga.
I asked you a question.
I said David Kanga worked with the PNDC when he came with the CDR.
On this show,
when he came with
you said he was a PNDC secretary. Then I exposed you that it was not correct.
Nana Ajiman, please mute their mics for me. Nana Ajiman.
That he worked with the National
Well, now dear, you become like. Anyway, so Nana Ajiman says, Roland, I hope you are fine. Good morning. Please, I think it is time you only accepted communication representatives who are professional, who are professionally polite, civil, and a lot less belligerent than Alhaji Awal. Many of us watch these debates. Please. Many of us watch these debates as a means of determining who we will vote for. So we wish to be informed by what they say and not merely witnessing disruptions. Okay. So that's Abdul Rahman. Okay, and then we have okay, so you say you're not going to respond to the KJB. It's just that it's trending. It's trending, so that's why I thought.
No, I'm saying that if you had given us
the opportunity, we would be able to.
It is not. No, I'm only saying that
it's a critical matter.
It's a.
You see.
But if you think that is importation, that's fine.
You see, I have seen Akufo-Addo campaign in 2016. Monso Menhwe. With humility, asking Ghanaians for their mandate. I am seeing Akufo-Addo who could tell a chief, a guard chief, Mempasem, to stand up.
Because the national anthem was being played.
The opportunity.
Because the national anthem was being played. The man
I just wanted to pick your
The chief came back to say that he was ill, and that was the reason he didn't stand.
And you see President Akufo-Addo openly shouting at this. Meanwhile, there is a video of Akufo-Addo's daughter, Jankroma, on the phone while the national anthem was being played. Or you've not watched that?
I have not seen any video like that.
You see a situation where in a camp constituency at the funeral of Rashid Bawa, the president openly disrespected a prominent chief by shouting at him to stand up. I have watched a video where President Akufo-Addo goes to greet his village chief without telling him to stand up. That level of disrespect and discrimination should be avoided. that level of arrogance should not be countenanced. You say you can't talk.
So Awal says you won't contribute.
Because
But I just wanted your line on it.
Insulted
wow, look at this.
Terry Abuate insulted Ochimini. You were even banished from the Ochimini palace in 2016.
You don't know what
he was your
We're
original
taking a break. We have a discussion also coming up. And it's about your finances, how you have to manage them, especially within these times. The ILO telling us about the SNIT issue, while in 12 years we could have reached a possibility of zero coffers in the SNIT account, and that should be a concern for everybody else. I know the response have been coming in, but we can cash out. It goes with a short code *439#. So let us know what you think. Courage Koku says Awal is making Eduji not well on the show. Are you also watching the same program? Somebody also says next president of the Republic of Ghana, etc. And so *439# enables you to get money credited into your mobile money account, and then you have to choose option 2, TV3, and we'll do the draws, and all of you will be some great winners. Again, happy birthday to you, Portia Yayura Lechu is from your father Prosper, and then also your mom Angela and the rest of the family, including your siblings.
Registration exercise.
All right.
Your platform is big to encourage as many young persons who have turned 18.
Yes. 7th May. Is the beginning.
The beginning. So we want to encourage as many young people to participate.
You like this one?
Yes, because
I hope that the Electoral Commission will make
will really
easier
get to 18, 19, 20.
To as it were.
Akufo-Addo graduates
Awal is very
18,
interesting.
19, 20, so definitely.
Okay, Robert Coleman says I should say good morning to you. Chief Executive for the Wembley Sports Construction Company Limited. Great guy, Robert Coleman. Guy G, good morning to you. So Roland, no one is shown respect in their domain. The entire country is the president's domain. So if everyone has to rise, if the president shows up, chiefs cannot call themselves separate honors. If a chief comes to visit me in my house, do I say it's my house so I won't rise up for him? No, I will rise. Why? Because he's a chief. We are not making the issue from the political point of view, but from protocol point of view. All right, so Guy G cantonment with that view. Thank you, Guy G. We're taking a break. We'll be right back.